Welcome to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. My name is Josh Katz. I am joined by Kathy Baker and Ryan Esteban as always. And Ryan, I know you know this. I love Kathy 12 months out of the year, but I especially love her during the end of March and early April because for those that don't know, Kathy's a sports fan across the board, but her team and her sport is college basketball. And her UNC's doing really well. I don't want to give anything away because when this gets released, we'll be in a different place. But Kathy, I'm watching every weekend. I'm texting her too. But I wish I was sitting on the couch next to you because I know how excited you are during this time.
Yeah, there's some ugly words. There's some swear words.
It's okay. This is an open space. You can say those words here, Kathy.
Are you confident? How do you feel now that they're going in? I guess we can say they're in the Sweet 16 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Sweet 16. I'm going to be honest with you. When I did my bracket, UConn is going to be tough.
Yeah. I think we all have UConn winning it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And of course, SDSU's.
It feels like a betrayal, but I've got UConn winning it because I think
we do. Yeah.
Yeah. We all do.
They're going to be tough to beat. Of course, my bracket got totally screwed when Kentucky lost.
Yeah, I think everybody's did.
All of us got destroyed.
Yeah. And then Ryan's, Ryan and I are actually from the same alma mater, but Ryan is San Diego born and bred, so SDSU is also still in the tournament.
Yes.
Which is exciting. They beat Yale the other night.
But they're getting to play UConn next on Thursday, so that's that'll be fun.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time for college basketball, which is a perfect transition to our guest who probably does not watch men's college basketball at all. This man I absolutely adore and love. He's my old boss. He's Ryan's old boss. He hired me. I think he hired Ryan, didn't he? I think everyone at this company probably knows his name and face and voice.
Has heard his sound effects. The word COOLTURE probably lives in this man more than anybody I know. Whatever. It's Juan Caicedo, guys. We are so excited to have him on the podcast. There it is.
There you go.
I say this man is to culture what Charles Barkley is to.
It's very true. I'll just start one before I've probably told this story a number of times on this podcast, but Juan's the reason that I joined Realty ONE Group. I had no interest in real estate. I took an interview, and the interview was at the old Cube 8 offices, and got to meet with a couple people and talked with you and kind of talked about what the team's goal was at the time. And I took a leap of faith, and I'm still here 6.5 years later. So I thank you for that. Seriously.
Oh, thank you. I got goosebumps. Remember I swear.
But Juan, we brought you on. We wanted to have you on this podcast for a while, but we brought you on because this is an interesting time for the industry, as everybody knows. And obviously we're always trying to plug the Realty ONE Group brand, but you were such an integral part of creating the brand that we now have today. And we wanted to hear from you what that was like, where we were to where we are now, and then where you see us going, just from a culture perspective. Cool. For those that don't know, we've created a word. There's the word culture, but culture was not sufficient enough for this brand's maximalist personality. Of course. If you take cool plus culture, you get COOLTURE. And you can thank Juan and Cuba for that, right? So Juan, explain for those that don't know about our culture, just what it is and where it was and where it is today.
So first, thank you so much for the invitation, guys. I've been watching the podcast and I was dying to be here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy. I even have my hands are sweating. So thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I really love you guys. And I love what the marketing department does and what this brand has become. And talking about the history of the brand or the beginnings of the brand, it is actually crazy to think when we had a few senior moments with Cuba at the last summit, because we were having a drink at the Golden Party, and he looked at me and he says, "Wow, look at what we have created," right? And when he meant we is all of us, and everyone was just living the brand and living that black and gold and living the Realty ONE Group. So we were doing that exercise, and I told him, yeah, remember that this started actually the same way. It was a natural expression. When I joined the company, my wife actually started a little bit before than me. I remember our offices were in Irvine. It was a plain white walls office, and it was very quiet. No one said a word. It was the beginning, right? And then we start having like the happy hours, and then Cuba came with crazy ideas. We all know Cuba. Yeah. But that gave us a little bit of freedom, and then we started bringing scooters, and then we started everyone was starting to feel that freedom of expression, and that became the norm, and that started to contribute to building the brand. And when you see Realty ONE Group, is a lifestyle real estate brand. Lifestyle because we actually create a safe environment for people to just be, and that big golden BU is how can we create a place where it's safe to belong and safe enough to express yourself, and when you see it, and I have the pleasure to work, for example, with the COOLTURE collective.
Yeah.
And when I see the demonstrations of culture across the entire US and now internationally, right? So I was talking to Realty ONE Group Philippines, and it's so crazy to think, right? And when you go and see Bolivia, for all places in the world, they had the gold, they had the expression, they use the same things that we are using here in California, or we are using in the middle of the country. So to summarize, is before it was just an idea. Now it's actually an exercise of human expression.
I think it's to kind of bring back the sports conversation, Kathy, when we're at Summit, for example, or Base Camp, or any of our smaller events, you see some of these people, live and breathe the Realty ONE Group brand as if it were a professional sports team. Yes. I mean, they are true fans of the brand. And Kathy, I kind of want to ask I always ask you these questions, but have you seen that with another brand in the industry before?
No. And I think the word is experience. And it's really hard to express and describe the vibe if you haven't experienced it. But honestly, and this is going to sound harsh, and I hope our friend Ryan doesn't have to edit a lot out, but a lot of other brands are so cookie cutter, and they're so old, white-haired, blue suits, traditional, and you're not allowed to express. I think what COOLTURE has done is, and through Be Golden BU, has allowed everybody and empowered everyone to truly have a voice. And we truly exercise everyone has a voice. And I think COOLTURE is the conduit that does that. You come in and you experience a culture, and you have courage, and you have, you feel empowered to express it.
Yes, and on that point is the inception of the brand. So COOLTURE is just a consequence of what the vision of the company is. So when you look at Realty ONE Group, and when in Cuba's book is actually there, when he was thinking about the brand, he was using the word realty, of course, because it's the business.
Right.
But then he truly believes, and he shakes when he says that, is one group. And it's not about the single one. It's actually how can we create a community, and how can we create the space. So when we were building the brand, and I say we because it's so many people have interviewed and so many ideas have been put in the pot. Is yes, you start with the black and gold. Let's make it interesting, right? So let's make it black and gold because those colors are luxury. Let's bring fun elements, but the things that you never think about is how people correlate with the feeling.
Yeah.
And that happened at Summit, that happened at all events, and that happened in each office, because having the t-shirt gives you kind of like that golden pass to go and hug another person, or to just express yourself, or to upload a video on TikTok dancing like Charissa Jones in one of our franchises. Right. So it's so funny to see how, of course, you put the logical thinking when you start a brand, but you never expect to see the human reaction, the human connection around those things.
But I think it's a good point to what you said when you started the white walls at the Irvine office, and how that quickly. I mean, we all know Cuba's personality, but that quickly transformed into the grassroots stages of the brand that we have today, and that started at corporate, right? We now have 400 plus offices in 20 countries, and you can see it from Irvine, California, all the way to Spain or Costa Rica or wherever.
Yes.
I mean, I think the point I'm trying to make is it caught like wildfire because it was something that this industry had never seen before.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. And it's going back to what Kathy was saying, is that is those basic human values where you say everyone has a voice and everyone matters. When you put it and you bring your awareness and your attention to those words, they're so simple, right? It's like basic human feelings. Like, I should care about my neighbor, I should care about the person that I work with, but when you go to a corporate level, those things are forgotten.
Yeah.
So when you come here and you get that fresh reminder of, you're important, your voice is important for us, and that's how everything was built. I think that was the inflection point to become the thing that is the Realty ONE Group brand.
Yeah. Kathy, go ahead.
The other thing about that is this is a tough business. I mean, we're living through that right now. The landscape constantly changes. And what is so powerful about our culture is for professionals to have that safe haven.
Yes.
Because a lot of people have junk at home, and they certainly have junk in the industry, and they have junk everywhere they look. And to be able to walk in and feel welcomed and loved, and feel like, man, it feels so good to be here. It's not a job. I say that often. I haven't been to work yet.
Yeah.
In 6.5 years. And I think that's what, Juan, you created and you helped be such a big part of, without even realizing that years later, the impact it would have on real estate professionals.
And I don't know you guys, but I don't know how many times I hear about it is such a fresh breath. It's a fresh air because, and I don't know, I also believe a lot lately in my life about synchronicities, and the way that we came together 11 years ago when I met Cuba, and when a lot of that group of people came together, and Ryan was also part of you, and we have been coming together. But I also analyze the different walks of life that build this brand. Yes, we have real estate background, but what I also love about Realty ONE Group is that we look outside for references and for inspiration. So that's one of the things that we used to do a lot in Incubate. It was an incubator of ideas. So we never see what the competitors were doing in the industry. We were looking big.
I remember you called a meeting. It was one of my probably first couple months starting at the company, and Cuba came into the meeting and kind of led it. And he said, I want ideas of inspiration. I think we were working on recruiting campaigns or something. He's like, I want ideas of inspiration, and I don't want anything from the real estate industry.
Yes.
And I remember he pulled up a Domino's ad. I'll never forget this. He was very obsessed with Domino's back in the day. And I was just like, holy crap. And I was so confused. And then I remember driving home, I was just like, this guy's actually like he's thinking 10 steps ahead. He realizes like, no, we have to think outside of this industry.
And he's legit what he keeps saying, right? What he keeps saying about everyone is important and everyone's background is important is legit. And that's why this brand and this culture is so big, is because we changed the mindset of we don't come here to work. We are living, we are inside of the office, we have culture. Outside of the office, we are culture.
Yeah.
So that's when it becomes very, very interesting and very intense in flavor and in its creation. At its core, is very difficult, because that's another thing. I don't know if you write content all the time for the company, and when it is time to write about culture, it is so hard to define culture.
It is.
It is difficult because you want to put so many things in words, but words are not enough sometimes.
It's so like for culture, it's almost easier to describe through Ryan or Nima's photos than it is to describe it in words, because it's almost a
visual.
It's a visual. Like, I know it's a feeling, but it's also this all encompassing word that can really mean something to anyone at any given moment that's a part of this network.
Yeah, it's that ethereal feeling that you know that you are part of, and that people when they yes.
Yeah, it's so contagious. What you can't articulate is how contagious it is. And I've been a part of other brands where I would go to a convention and I would buy stuff, and I would get home and go, well, this is definitely goes in the convention closet, because I would never other than at a convention, because people would think I was crazy. I mean, it just wouldn't even be appropriate. And our swag, and I think our pride in the culture and in the brand is such that I wear it every day.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not just something that you go, oh, that would be cool to wear one time a year at one event.
Yes. And another interesting thing that I have observed from the outside, we were here, Ryan was here when we started franchising. And so we met the first franchise and we met the first 11 that came to training. And I remember those days because everyone was with their dress and with their tie. And when we talk about culture, they said, yeah, that's important, but let's talk about numbers. And let's talk about infrastructure, and let's talk about technology. And it is so crazy to see when people have that aha moment, and when they realize that culture is the most important thing that this company has. Like, it supports all the differences, it supports everything, but when they invest in the culture, everything starts flowing and it's authentic.
And Kathy, maybe you can speak to from a franchise perspective, right? Like, the culture then goes into those offices within their own market, and what Juan and we all have been creating for years, they now bring to their local market. The agents that they are then trying to recruit, they get caught onto it, and it's a snowball effect, right?
It is. It's this sweet scent. I'm from the South, and I always talk about you need to put out a sweet scent. And it is that is just that attract, like nectar. It's just that. Yeah. It's that people go, wow, they are happy people. I want to be where people are happy. Yes. And it again, it's that contagious effect.
So, Kathy, let me ask you, because we are obviously in the midst of, not only a shifting market, but this new settlement with NAR. How important is it? I obviously we already answered this question, but we're in this transitional phase in the industry with our brand differentiating itself the way that it has been doing. Will that be a difference maker during this time?
Absolutely. And it's very similar to almost 4 years ago exactly, where a lot of brokerages and a lot of leadership, literally when the pandemic hit, they hid.
Yeah.
We would have professionals say to us, I haven't seen my broker in weeks. And I think through the leadership of this company, and I credit Mike Clear with that, he always leads on. He's always looking at, what if this, what scenarios this, and this. And we've really exemplified that through Mike and through Alex, through Cuba, just that leading with calm. And I think what that builds, that allows culture to rest on top of the very strongest bridge possible, which is trust.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think all this comes back to trust. Is I'm going to trust them to guide me. I'm going to trust them to provide a nurturing environment. I'm going to trust them to allow me to speak and have a voice and live my lifestyle under the brand. And I think that's so critically important. But the key foundation in anything is trust. And I think we do that better than any other brand. Yes. Because it's about the stakeholder and not the stockholder.
Yes, and that feeling of uncertainty, it always calls for a friend. And I'll go back to basics, right? When you have a different hard choice to make in life, or when you are doubting to do something, you go either to your partner or to your friend, to your very local friends or closer.
You seek counsel from somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we migrating that to the corporate level or to the business level, we are that. We are we are the person that you will trust to go and say, hey, I think you guys are doing something right. I think I'm going to be safe with you. And it comes from authentic feelings, and it comes from authentic expressions of the people that work here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good point. I think we've created obviously I'm speaking from a corporate level, but I've been here for so long that I've seen it, like you said, at the business level as well. But we've created an environment where there is so much trust, and there's so many different people I can lean on outside of my team, outside of Corey or Kathy or whoever, that it makes for, I don't feel like I'm ever going backwards. I feel like I'm constantly moving forward.
And the other thing that I was thinking about culture, not only for the agent that is in uncertain times, but also for the agent when he's doing business. Now, this started as a company idea to bring the culture to agents, and of course, it's a recruiting enhancement, if you want to say it,
sure.
and it works for corporate level or the business level. But what I love is how that ripple effect translates into the relationship of an agent with the buyer and seller. And with all of these, because I also experience it from the outside, everyone is so confused now because it's all the headlines, right? The NAR settlements and the commissions and blah, blah, blah. So the buyer and seller will be so uncertain as well. They don't know what to do, and if they want to buy a house, but what is this commission? It's already hard to understand the process when you are buying for the first time or when you approach that.
Yeah.
So my advice to agents and to real estate professionals is use culture as well in your day-to-day, because that's going to benefit your business in these uncertain times, not only for you, but also for your buyer and seller.
I agree.
And, I've said this before, but one thing, and I think it's worthy of mentioning again, the thing that I absolutely applaud Cuba for, and I love about this company, is we are the remix. And when you think about it, he encouraged and invited and empowered the Vinnie Tracys and the Kathy Bakers, and I'm not going to say anybody else because we're both old, but we're Motown. We're Motown. We're that song that you hear that you go, man, they hardly write music like that anymore. And then we've brought in the Joshes and the Juans and the Ryans and the Taylors and the Coreys. And you've got this beautiful remix of people going, I know that industry. Mm-hmm. That's familiar and I love it. But look at what they've done with it. And to me, that represents the fuel of culture of, man, taking that remix song and now you love it more than you ever thought you could. And I applaud Cuba for that.
I mean, Kathy, I love that you say that. And that's when me and Ryan chatted 4 years ago about this podcast. That was our idea. That was literally the reason for us wanting to start this podcast. Was Ryan and I are from one generation, Kathy's from another. We're from different industries. Kathy's from a different industry. Like, we can combine forces and also ask real questions about things that we want to learn more about, be experts about things that we already know about. And it has fostered such a, outside of the podcast, the actual company, it has fostered such a healthy atmosphere of just learning and growing. And also, like, I mean, I sound like so cornball right now, but like creating like great relationships with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no one's afraid to raise their hand and go, I don't know how to do this. Yeah. Or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
And it also has inspired to do the same in other offices, because I also seen people now doing podcasts as well in their environments and in their circles. So it's amazing to see how they take it, and they are doing such a phenomenal things, telling stories. So that's another great thing that we never expected when we started doing all of this is what are they going to take and what are they going to do? And sometimes now, thanks to technology and thanks to social media and social hearing, we get to get inspired from others.
Oh, totally.
So I love that. I loved receiving emails and it's, hey, look what they are doing in Pennsylvania. Yep. Why we're not doing that? And it's like, it's amazing.
We get stuff all the time, or, Savag obviously scours the social media world for what our network's doing. And we'll see stuff from a random office in Georgia that has created a social campaign or recruiting content that we're just like, holy crap, this is amazing.
Yes.
And like, that's a really good feeling.
Or what they do with the offices as well.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like beautiful offices, like wow.
Like if you look at RP's office, for example, I mean, yeah, it's like, there's some really cool stuff out there. Yeah. And it's, Juan, you were a very integral part of that. Like I hope you,
thank you so
sleep well at night knowing that.
No, thank you. No, I sleep and I cross a lot of text of gratitude because I truly feel gratitude when I think about. So yesterday, funny story. Yesterday I do cycling, and yesterday I changed routes because I was doing climbing, and I passed here, and I took a picture. I sent you the picture. You can put it in the podcast if you want, in the final edition. And I pass, and I stop, and I took a picture, a selfie in front of the building, and I text Cuba when I finish. And because cycling gives you this perfect setup for almost meditation, and you look back, and because you're on your bike, you cannot do anything else for 3 hours, right? So after I passed this building, I kept thinking, wow, my life truly changed after we crossed paths with Cuba and with everyone. And I feel so much gratitude because it's a place where I can be. And yes, it's not only happy times, right? We have had difficulties.
Sure,
it's really hard sometimes, a lot of stress, a lot of work. But at the end, it gets you that feeling of gratitude and happiness. And,
I agree.
And I am so happy to see also, and we have talked about it as a group, to see the future. And when you start to see how Italy is changing everything to their language, and I start to see how this grows, I can't wait to see what the culture is going to be.
I completely agree. Well, Juan, thank you for joining us. I want to have you back on we could do a whole series with Juan, honestly. But this was a blast. I think this is going to be a nice piece of content for our network and beyond, for, just to have a moment to breathe, have some fun. These are, nervous times for a lot of people. And so I hope that this can just be a moment for people to sit back, relax, learn something, and have a good time. If you have any questions, concerns, like I always say, want to just say hello to Ryan, Kathy, or I, please reach out to learning@realtyonegroup.com, and we will see you guys next week. Yes. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Woo-hoo!
We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty ONE Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details, listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.